All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for your interest and thank you for the work that you do every single day to bridge more American workers to good quality jobs and long-term opportunity. It's certainly not overlooked, the transformative programs that you all lead and execute every day. So again, thank you for giving us your time. We know that you are very, very busy. There's going to be a few opportunity at work voices and faces that you'll see on today's webinar. I'm Courtney Haynes. I'm the Chief Engagement Officer here at Opportunity at Work. We'll also hear from Rachel Providence, who's Senior Director of Resource Mobilization, Jenna Rosen, Senior Manager of Insights, and Raleigh Ramirez, who's our Senior Manager of Market Development. You'll probably see a few other faces here on the side, which are other essential team members who are contributing to this program for us here at Opportunity at Work. So this is an exciting opportunity for us as an organization to be able to offer this type of funding to talent developers working with STARS every single day in the field. So we're thrilled that you're here. Please be aware that this webinar is being recorded and we will post it on our website for those who couldn't join us today. And hopefully it can be a resource that you also go back to if you have any questions. We're also available for you to reach out to for any questions that you might have. Over the next hour, we're going to do a few different things. We're going to first explain how this grant opportunity came about and what we see as the fundamental purpose and value of this work. We're going to do a quick review of the application guidelines and eligibility criteria. And then we're going to devote as much time as we possibly can to the Q&A, including a quick introduction to StellarSite, our STARS data dashboard, and our research on STARS, including occupational segregation, which we'd strongly encourage you to review and incorporate into your application. We're going to begin by reviewing the most frequently asked questions that have come to us via email over the past couple weeks, which we've been compiling in a running FAQ document that would be posted to our website by the end of this week. So by Friday, March 29th, that will be live on our website. And we really thank you for taking the time. We've received some really good questions. So we're excited to give you some answers and then have a place where you can go to regularly. If you have any questions today that you'd like to submit, please use the Q&A function down here at the bottom of our Zoom. Our staff is monitoring that. While we may not be able to answer all of the questions that come in today in real time, we'll add any new questions to our FAQ doc, which will be posted again on our website. You can always submit questions to Rebecca Gerber as well, which many of you had, and her email is rebecca.gerber@opportunityatwork.org. And we can post that in the chat as well. So we want to start off by explaining why we're offering these Powering STARS breakthrough grants in the first place, what we're hoping to achieve, and why we think it's so important to be doing this work right now and at this moment in time. So who are STARS? Age 25 and older who are active in the labor force, have a high school diploma or equivalent, and have developed their skills through alternative routes such as community colleges, apprenticeships, boot camps, and most commonly, on-the-job experience. Who are historically excluded STARS? STARS comprise of 65% of Black workers, 55% of Hispanic workers, 66% of rural workers, and 48% of women workers across the US. These STARS from historically excluded groups are also among those hardest hit by the labor market's long-standing divides across race, across class, gender, and geography. This kind of occupational segregation means that workers with similar educational backgrounds but different demographic profiles are concentrated in jobs with vastly different wages and pay scales, creating persistent salary and wealth gaps, and often leads to generational gaps. Ultimately, many historically excluded STARS end up overrepresented in lower wage occupations. So here at Opportunity at Work, if you're new to us, you'll learn that we focus on the idea of pathways. Origin jobs pay low wages, but require skills that are transferable to higher wage work. Gateway jobs open up mobility pathways as they are accessible from a number of similarly scaled lower wage occupations and offer valuable skills that then provide pathways into multiple higher wage destination occupations. And those destination jobs, well, I know those are our goal. Those are our higher wage jobs that are accessible from multiple lower wage occupations. So to power breakthroughs for STARS through such pathways, Opportunity at Work is building the business case for the STARS talent category while also providing the infrastructure and data-rich products and tools to support better informed decision-making. Ultimately, this leads to greater economic mobility for all U.S. workers. And as you all probably are quite familiar with your work on the ground, these pathways are often blocked for STARS, especially for Hispanic, Black, and women STARS. We know inclusive talent developers understand how important it is to support STARS as they obtain the most in-demand skills for higher wage work. At the same time, entrenched occupational segregation compounds the barriers of degree-based exclusion to hold historically excluded STARS back from career paths they've got the skills and motivations to pursue and be successful in. So why partner with us if you're thinking about applying to this initiative? We know that low wage does not mean low skill, and our data shows that STARS and origin jobs develop valuable and transferable skills that should offer mobility into higher wage roles. We believe effective strategies must be data-informed, skills first, and fueled by real-time data about skills pathways, jobs and career opportunities, and employer behavior in local communities to enable more STARS to find pathways towards greater mobility. Ultimately, we want to partner with workforce organizations looking to help the ecosystem break out of the status quo, using new tools to establish new norms. We especially want to encourage our workforce partners to identify which occupational pathway offer the best opportunities for their local STARS to use their transferable skills between jobs and our industries as they seek higher wage roles. So, how will we power STAR breakthroughs? I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Rachel to review the basic grant information and eligibility criteria before we move into the FAQ portion. Rachel, I'll pass it to you.
Thanks, Courtney. We're so excited to have you all here. Thank you for joining us. So just to review the basics, through Powering STAR Breakthroughs, we plan on awarding 7 to 10 grants of $200 to $300K each to be expended over an 18-month period. And upcoming dates to be aware of, the applications are due on April 26th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Awards will be announced on June 3rd. And then the grant period will be June 14th of 2024 through December 31st of 2025. In terms of eligibility, we want to hear from talent developers who are currently using or have ideas for innovative solutions that create economic mobility for historically excluded STARS. And we want to learn about our applicants' approaches to talent development, their track records of success, and how you've used data and decision support tools to bolster your work to date. And we're also asking applicants to evaluate your work and your organizational theory of change through the lens of combating occupational segregation. And we invite you to do so using Opportunity at Work's tools and other resources, and we have more details on those resources later to come in the webinar. For eligibility criteria, we ask that applicants have organizational budgets between $3 to $7 million. We also will accept joint applications from pairs of organizations with a combined budget in this range. We just ask that the joint applicants will split the grant evenly, and we'll cover that more in the FAQ section of the webinar. And then we also ask that applicants commit to submitting 2 brief interim reports and 1 final report covering the 18-month grant period, describing progress made and how the funds were expended. As we evaluate submitted applications, we will give extra consideration to organizations that are based in underserved geographic regions, focused on underserved industries, who are able to demonstrate a track record of using data to inform strategy and action, and also who are eager to use one or more of Opportunity at Work's resources to enhance their work. So switching gears, we have received so many great questions via email, and we imagine that many of you on this call have similar questions. So we're going to address the most frequently asked questions here, starting with those focused on eligibility criteria. And as Courtney mentioned earlier, we hope that this will cover most of people's questions, but please add any additional questions you have to the Q&A feature. And while we might not be able to address all additional questions during the webinar, we will make sure that we do so via our FAQ document, which will be posted on our website by the end of this week. So I'll turn it over to Raleigh and Courtney for that first batch of questions.
Great, thank you, Rachel. I'll be reading the questions here, and Courtney will be following up with the responses. So let's go ahead and get started with question number 1. Why is this grant limited to organizations with operating budgets in the $3 to $7 million range?
Thanks, Raleigh. And for everyone participating today, I think this was the most common question that we got for this process. So we wanted to explain a little bit our thinking and also encourage continued learning together in this ecosystem. So we want to hear from you afterwards about what your experience is if you do not fall into this 3 to 7 million. We truly do acknowledge the frustration experiences by organizations with budgets under 3 million and or over 7 million that are not eligible for this grant. And we believe those feelings are 100% valid. We aim to be as equitable and transparent as possible. Just to give you a little bit of context, the following principles guided our decision-making in determining this budget range. In setting the 3 million as the minimum, we reflected on our own experience and those of our partners and others in the field working for small nonprofit organizations with limited staffing and fundraising capacity. We know that small organizations are often the most careful stewards of grant awards, especially when they depend on grant funding to stay afloat. Yet we also know that when a small organization receives a one-time non-renewable grant from a single funder that does account for more than 10% of its total operating budget, sustainability becomes a concern. Staff and programming funded by a single-time limited grant may lose their only source of support when the grant ends, and smaller organizations often find it more difficult to find replacement funding from other sources due to longstanding inequities with the nonprofit and philanthropic sectors. While we wish we could do more to foster this systemic change in this sector, that work is outside the scope of our current funding opportunity. We set the 7 million max because we want mid-sized organizations to be able to truly compete for funding in a universe that includes their peers, rather than one that includes organizations with budgets twice their size. While we support the work of and regularly work and partner with many larger scale talent developers who do excellent work, this funding opportunity is not intended for organizations already receiving major grant awards from other sources. Few other reasons include just given the bandwidth of our own team here and the restrictions we have from our own funder, we needed to put some parameters on the size of these grants and the organizational budgets associated with them to ensure we are able to handle the influx of applications with care and proper due diligence. Finally, we want to note that we're working to make all aspects of Powering Star Breakthroughs as transparent, accessible, and user-friendly as possible, which includes today's webinar and our Q&A process. We've also designed the grant award itself with flexibility in mind. Powering Star's breakthrough grants may be used as general operating support, which allows grantees to decide where and how this funding should be allocated at their own discretion. And as I mentioned before, this is our first experience making grants at this scale, and we're very much in learning mode to inform potential future iterations of this initiative. So again, we very much appreciate you sharing your feedback, experiences, and insights with us to help us think about how we might adjust these parameters for future grants.
Let's go back one. Awesome, thank you. Question number 2, can smaller organizations with a combined operating budget equaling $3 to $7 million submit a joint application?
Also a great question. This was, I think, our second most common, which we are excited about to see the innovation and partnership opportunities within the space. So yes, we will accept joint applications from groups of up to 2 nonprofit partners with a combined fiscal year 23 operating budget in that same desired range, that 3 to 7 million. Because we do have restrictions from our own funder about grantees making any sub-grants themselves, we would need both entities to submit the application jointly, rather than one partner being the lead applicant and the other being a sub-grantee. We'd also need to have the joint applicant's request budget reflect a 50-50 split of the grant. So for example, if the total requested is 300,000, each of the two applicant partners would need to submit a budget outlining how their organization would use 150K each in funding.
Great. Question number 3. Our organization's 2023 fiscal year budget was below 7 million, but our 2024 budget is projected to be over $7 million. Are we still eligible?
Yes, we will look at each applicant's most recent audited financial statements, either fiscal year 23 or fiscal year 22, to determine eligibility based on their budget size. So you are absolutely eligible to apply if your fiscal year 22 or fiscal year 23 budget was below 7 million.
Okay, number 4. Are the individual chapters or affiliates of national organizations whose operating budgets fall within the $3 to $7 million range eligible for the subgrant?
It's a great question. So we're going to determine eligibility based on the applicant's operating budget as it appears in the organization's most recent audited financial statement, so that fiscal year 2023 or fiscal year 2022. If an individual, chapter, or affiliate applies under its own 501c3 designation and their EIN, their tax ID number, we will determine eligibility based on the financial statements associated with that EIN. If an individual campus chapter applies using a national organization's 501c3/EIN, we will need to use the national organization's audited financial statements to determine the eligibility. So there is a little bit of nuance there.
All right. Do for-profit organizations qualify for this grant opportunity?
For this grant opportunity, no. This grant opportunity is intended for nonprofit 501c3 organizations exclusively. However, nonprofit grantees may choose to allocate up to 30 to 35% of total grant funds for-profit contractors, vendors, as they deem fit. Because remember, this funding can be used to the awardee's general discretion and further operating support. So 30 to 35% of the total grant funds can be used for-profit contractors and vendors. And it looks like we're moving on to some different categories. So we're going to move into questions on the application and the grant process themselves. Raleigh, I think you're continuing on with Rachel answering the questions.
Great, thank you. All right, Rachel. Can Powering Star Breakthroughs funding be used as general operating support? And if so, are there any restrictions on how the funds can be allocated?
So yes, we encourage applicants to consider this funding as general operating support. We trust you to determine the best use of funds for your organization, but we do have some restrictions from our own funder, which are that 1, funds cannot be used toward capital costs, meaning they can't be used to purchase materials that cost more than $5,000 per item. Also, funds cannot be sub-granted or re-granted to other nonprofit organizations, and no more than 30 to 35% of total grant funds can go to a for-profit vendor or contractor.
All right. Why is it important that our organization uses STARS terminology in our application and our work for this grant?
We love this question. We believe that using the term STARS is a key component of establishing a talent category for workers skilled through alternative routes that is asset-based and equally as valid as the talent category for workers with bachelor's degrees. We've also done a lot of market testing to learn that the term STAR is appreciated and embraced by the population. And as such, we really encourage our applicants to join us in building and promoting a movement for STARS by name.
Opportunity at Work's research refers to STARS at workers who are 25 plus aged. Does this mean that Powering Star Breakthroughs funding must be used to support STAR workers ages 25 plus exclusively?
This is also a great question. Though Opportunity at Work generally defines STARS as workers who are 25 and older for the purposes of data gathering, we are comfortable with organizations defining STARS as workers who have a high school diploma and are over the age of 18 for this particular funding opportunity.
Great. Is there a preference for direct service organizations over those more oriented towards systems change or vice versa?
No, we don't have a preference. We're equally open to applications from both direct service talent developers as well as those with more of a focus on systems change or capacity building.
All right, what will reporting requirements look like for powering STARS breakthroughs?
So we want to put the minimum burden on grant managers, allowing staff to spend the majority of their time delivering programs and services to boost economic mobility for STARS. So we will ask our grantees to provide 2 very brief interim reports, probably a handful of questions each, as well as a more in-depth final report that will cover the entire 18-month grant period, describing progress made and how funds were expended. And we will be sure to communicate report deadlines and provide grantees with narratives and financial reporting templates with a lot of advance notice.
Okay, will powering STAR breakthroughs grant funding be renewable after the 2-year grant period ends?
No, this particular funding opportunity is not renewable. However, we do look forward to staying in touch with our applicants and with our grantees, and we hope that your organization will continue to engage with us in a variety of ways. So now we're going to move on to our last frequently asked question, which is how to use our research tools for your application. And I will turn it over to Courtney and Jenna.
Thank you. So as you all read through our application, you might have seen, and we did get questions around, well, how can we access Opportunity at Work's research on STARS and occupational segregation to integrate this data into our narrative responses? So we wanted to actually spend a little bit of time here and do some demonstration. We strongly encourage applicants to familiarize themselves with our primary research and data tools on STARS in the workforce to inform their application, as well as their organization's theory of change more broadly. These key resources include resources for talent developers on the Opportunity at Work website and at tearthepaperceiling.org. Join us for our deep dive with Jenna on our team, who's going to go over our research papers regarding occupational segregation and also our Stellar Site dashboard, where you can learn how to use the dashboard Stellar Site as part of your solutions for STARS. And we hope this will inspire you to consider how you might talk about STARS in your application, what data sources you're pointing to, and hopefully it helps position your solution. Gina, I'll pass it to you.
Great to join you guys and tell you a little bit more about our research here. Our original research explores the drivers of STARS economic mobility to identify the skills, jobs, and practices that can open promising pathways to STARS. Our key reports help build a shared understanding of STARS experiences in the labor market. On the left, you'll see we start with our first report published in 2020, Reach for the STARS, which highlights how the labor market has been overlooking the vast talent pool of over 70 million STARS in the United States. Next, we move to Navigating with the STARS and Rise with the STARS. Navigating with the STARS helps talent developers and employers reimagine equitable pathways to mobility, while Rise with the STARS shows the severe impact of employers excluding STARS. For example, it takes a STAR 30 years to make the wage a college graduate earns on day one of their career. On the left, we have a few spotlights that we did, including a spotlight on STARS in the workplace, changing the face of apprenticeships, and a spotlight on Black STARS. The changing face of apprenticeships shows how apprenticeships can be a major part of the solution for employers and STARS, while STARS in the workplace explores why most STARS don't get the opportunity to develop their full potential despite demonstrating valuable skills on the job. The spotlight on Black STARS really started to examine one demographic group in particular, Black STARS, and what their experience in the labor market looked like. As the grant opportunity explores a little bit more about the occupational segregation, I wanted to highlight that piece of our research specifically. Our occupational segregation research was published in 2023, and it shows how occupational segregation limits the wages of historically excluded stars, and especially those of Black stars. Here you see Black and white workers wind up in different jobs with different pay, regardless of their educational background. Despite the progress made in past decades, the labor market has become more segregated over the past 20 years. This even incorporates college attainment. The chart here shows the difference in both jobs and pay between Black and white stars. On the left, you see only 2 of the 10 jobs with the most Black stars pay above the median wage, while for white stars, 8 of the 10 pay above the median wage. We know that by adopting a skills-based approach, more stars, particularly Black stars, could be on a path to higher wages and increased mobility. Next, I want to take you on a deeper dive into learning about star pathways on our tool Stellar Site. It's an interactive dashboard that synthesizes the latest national labor market data and stars data into intuitive visualizations. So bear with me for 1 second. Stellar Site is a free tool. Anyone can sign in and log on. Let's see. As you can see, when you first log on, it'll take you to the Explore page. On the Explore page, it's really useful if you're thinking about recruitment and the makeup of a regional labor market. You may want to start here. You can see here, you can start with navigating the map, and it gives you an example of all of the star data when it comes to demographics, employment status, ethnicities, across the whole country. If you hover over any one state, it'll start to highlight the differences of that state's percentages in comparison to the United States. It also allows you to click on any one state, and it'll give you the specific details of that one state. So you can then again hover over and compare it to any other existing state. If you want to dig a little bit deeper into a specific region or area, you can click on the state map, and you can start to see that as it shows the highlighted areas, the color orientation here shows the density of stars located in each one of these areas. Again, you can hover over one of these areas to show the difference as it occurs in any one of these regions. You can also look by specific counties. So for example, if we wanted to highlight Milwaukee County and go an in-depth area there, or you can also look at a specific city or metro area. So again, we can highlight the city of Milwaukee specifically there as well. If you pull back up into a state, you're able to see the breakdown of workers by demographic areas in a nice visualization as well, showing you their demographic by the whether they're a Wisconsin worker or whether they're a star, and you can use the toggle here to show stars as well. I won't spend too much time, but as you can see, there's a lot of information to dig into there. I'll next go to what we call the Compare tab. This is really helpful for more information on career pathways for stars across dozens of different job types, including which jobs currently occupied by stars offer the most transferable skills for more advanced roles. This helps to support stars as they use their skills to move into higher wage work. I'll start with, so it'll go back to the reference geographic area that you were just using in the Explore tab. So there it was Wisconsin. So it's still Wisconsin here. We'll search for a job title. We'll start with retail salesperson, and it'll start to highlight existing open roles. We have a partnership that pulls in live data through Lightcast that lets us see what roles are currently open for in the labor market for that one region. And it also gives you a lot of data as you scroll down to see which roles prepare workers for retail sales positions. One of the really nice things to see here is as we selected our retail salesperson as our job, that's this middle level right here, the selected job, and it starts to identify the wages that exist. And when you see the sourcing job, this shows you different pathways that a lot of workers have made to transition into that salesperson, that retail salesperson role, as well as on the other side, it shows you jobs that people often leave the retail salesperson for, called destination jobs. You can click any of these pathways to see on the right-hand side, the spider graph, which will show you the skill map between pathways. So for example, if we're interested in cashiers and retail salesperson, we would click on that and you'll see the spider map on the left shows that there's an 85% skill match, and nationally, about 102,000 workers make that transition annually. Additionally, you could go from the retail salesperson to a real estate broker. And again, you see a 90% skills match where 36,000 workers make that transition nationally. This tab can show and offer a lot of guidance on how to recruit stars and serve as a model for creating more opportunity for stars in the region. At this point, I'll turn it back over to Courtney to wrap us up. Just wanted to give you a few highlights, but as I mentioned before, you can always go to our website and dig in a little bit deeper.
Thank you so much. Hopefully that was helpful, and we will post here some links in our chat so you can have access to those research reports and also Stellar site. We did receive a few questions over the last, I would say, 25 minutes or so. Not too many, but I want to make sure that we go over them since we have a little bit of time. The first question was, could a larger talent developer apply as a subcontractor for a 3 to 7 million nonprofit that doesn't do training itself? The example, a small nonprofit recruits and provides supportive services, and the larger organization provides curriculum and training. Our response to that is similar to the way I answered a question prior, which is up to 30 to 35% of the budget can be used for contracting services, and that is up to the grantee's discretion. There was also a question regarding the reasoning for the equal split of the 300,000, if that's what two entities were going after between two organizations. What each will provide can be so different based on the services each will deliver. So this question was really trying to understand why that equal split. We're not able to have a primary grantee and a subgrantee in this process. So the positioning is equal counterparts as the primary grantees. And so both entities, if they're going after this together, will have to demonstrate their budgets, and we will be able to disperse the allocation of funding at a 50-50 split. The next question says, your information says you encourage that we reflect in our application work across a wide range of industries. Are you willing to share the number of industries you consider a wide range? It's a great question. And I can tell you that what we truly hope to see is a diverse representation of industries, sectors, pathways in the applicant pool. This entire opportunity is really meant to get into the hands of talent developers who traditionally don't get access to these funding opportunities. And with all the traditional pathways and occupations and sectors and all the gaps in our talent workforce, plus all the emerging industries that are on the market, we really want any talent developer who was working in the space to be seen here. So there is no number here, but success for us as opportunity at work is if we get a diverse applicant pool that reflects a wide range of industries, that will be really excellent and really inspiring to see. Well, as we talked about earlier, we are going to take all the FAQs that we've received and we're going to update our document, and we will be posting that by the end of the week on Friday at our website. We will also have a recording of this webinar as well. And as always, we are open to questions. And so this is not the end of any type of interaction. or back and forth with the organization. We want to hear from you. We want to get your questions, and we hope that you consider applying for this opportunity. Thank you for joining us today.